The Golden State Warriors made it a little easy on themselves last night, getting a win over the Miami Heat before they head out to a 5-game road trip that, even though it's on the East Coast, it doesn't have the Nets, the Bucks, the Celtics, the Sixers in it, but it's no easy task. They got a 5-game roadie with a couple of back-to-backs in it coming up to talk a little bit about the Warriors, the NBA, something that Klay Thompson was talking about last night. Being a little hurt feelings from Charles Barkley. We're very happy to welcome in Ramona Shelburne here to 95.7 The Game. It's been a very long time since we said hello, Ramona. Thank you for joining us here on Damon and Ratto. How you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, it has been a minute. I went and had a baby in the meantime.
Congrats on the Bambino.
Thanks.
Regret it yet?
They are nice. They are nice. Oh, boy.
I have a friend of mine who has a newborn and just described his brand new child simply as a pooping alarm clock. I thought that was pretty. That's kind of accurate.
Yeah.
That's what they are.
No, my little dude's kind of a gassy baby, like man-sized farts, and you're like, that was the baby. I'm telling you, that was it.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, no, he's actually really good. As babies go, like, I can handle farts, but that's a hard one.
Well, congratulations. I'm glad that you are an expert in that category.
Yeah.
And really, congrats from all of us here. And it's great to have you back. And we got ourselves an NBA season that's underway here. And, the Warriors have not exactly burst out of the gates in any way, shape, or form. It feels like the punch that Draymond threw is now officially in the rearview mirror. And now getting some basketball legs underneath them is what they want to go out and do. Just early returns on the Golden State Warriors. What are some of your impressions, Ramona?
It's always harder to repeat. I mean, last year I thought their motivation was pretty clear and everyone was hungry and focused. And it's easy to get up when you've been one of the worst teams in the league the 2 years before that, right? Like they just didn't have their guys. Finally, you get everyone back injury-wise, and there was a belief, like if everybody got back, that they could make a run at it. And this year, the harder part is, okay, now what's the motivation? Like, what is the focus and what is the overarching thing that centers the team? Because I think what the Warriors do better than probably any team in the league, and which is why they've had such a dominant run the last decade or so, is they find a way to center themselves at the right time. It may not be all season long. Like, there's definitely parts of the season where they'll drift a little bit, like any team, but they find a common cause and purpose. And I don't know what this one's going to be. I mean, this one feels like gravy in a way. Like they got 4 rings, that core group, and maybe maybe eventually this takes on a Last Dance quality. Maybe it takes on a let's really get up into the upper echelon of the record books in the NBA of great dynasties. I mean, it's hard enough to build it once, but then to rebuild it, and you got to get more than just one. Right? The really great dynasties have 2 eras, so maybe this is the second championship in that era. I don't know. They have to find that. And I think the early returns on them is just incomplete. I mean, they've had a couple of games. I was up there for the Denver game. It was okay, right? But they didn't come out strong in the first half. But nothing was concerning. It was just, it looked like a team that's going to take a little while to find itself.
From the national viewpoint, their idea of this 2-track roster where they're trying to stockpile young players to be able to inherit the mantle en masse in a couple of years. What's the national view on that? How risky it is, how difficult it is to pull that off? Or do they think it's just brilliance and it's all going to work out in the end?
Well, the franchise has been able to do that is the Spurs. They have this baton pass every 3 or 4 years. Maybe it's even a little further stretched out. It's every 4, 5, 6 years. And they had a 2-decade run with passing the baton to the next generation. It's not easy to do, but I thought the contracts they signed Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins to were unbelievably team friendly. I mean, it's good for both those guys, but they put those contracts put the Warriors in position to actually pull this off, to pull off that baton pass with minimal collateral damage. There might be some collateral damage. I'm not sure all 4 of the key guys are going to go into the next year. Andre Iguodala's already said this is really the last year, but see what happens with Draymond and Klay. But financially speaking, that Wiggins contract was an incredibly team friendly deal. but said, I think, a lot more about him than anybody realized. I mean, he really couldn't get paid on the open market. And he took this deal. Jordan Poole, especially with what he was going through after the Draymond incident, signing that deal where he could have pushed it, he could have gone out on the open market, and then the whole season was clouded by it, by not getting it done when they did. I thought that was a great sign for them going forward, because both of those guys could have got more on the open market, but they found a team and a culture they want to stay with, and you just don't see that very often in the NBA. And when you say the two-track construction here, it takes players buying in, and it takes players leaving a little on the table to make it work, which we saw all those years in San Antonio. So they talked him into it. Is a good sign.
Ramona Shelburne covers the NBA for ESPN here. Good to have her on 95.7 The Game for the first time in a long time, and you have covered this league so long, Ramona. You know that no player likes to expose any hurt feelings or actually share some vulnerability, usually with the media, which made what Klay Thompson had to say about some pointed criticisms from Charles Barkley just something that we've considered kind of interesting, because, it's not often athletes expose themselves and dive into like the fact that, hey, my feelings got hurt. I'd like to play a little of what Klay Thompson said and then get your reaction to it, if you would, please.
Oh, I got one thing to say. It hurts when someone like Charles Barkley, with the platform he has, says you're not the same player prior to the injuries you have. It's like, no duh, man. Consecutive years, I tore my ACL, my Achilles in consecutive years, and still help a team win a championship. I mean, it hurt hearing that, because it's like, man, I put in so much freaking effort to get back to this point. Like, it's hard to even put into words what I had to do to be the player I am today. And it's like, played 57 games in 3 years. Like, give me some freaking time to get that back, and just hear someone say, oh, he's not the same as he was prior to the injuries. Like, duh. Like, who goes through something like that and comes back? I don't know. It just hurt my heart hearing that. But you know what?
So, Ramona, you're very, very dialed in. Have you ever heard anything, inside information about exactly how hard this has been for Klay to go through, to kind of overcome, even though he's already returned and won a ring? It still feels like it hurts. He admitted to it. It hurts.
Well, every once in a while we're actually working on a story where you kind of hear some. I'm actually working on a story with Klay right now, talking about everything he's been through, and the fact that it does hurt. And I think what's interesting about Klay is sometimes as a writer you start off with a premise of, here's what I think the story is about. And when I went into this thinking it was, okay, this is about a guy trying to get back to a level, but it's also a guy trying to recapture a feeling, a team trying to recapture a feeling of how things used to be when things were great, when he was great. Klay was an Iron Man before he got hurt. Like, he didn't miss games. He like, the most he ever had was a Charlie horse or an ankle or something here and there. Never had serious injuries before these two injuries. He prided himself on playing almost all the games every year. And so these are kind of a challenge to your self-concept of of who he is. But the more I've been around Klay and the more I've kind of reported on the story, and especially hearing that last night, I don't think that the job for him is trying to get back to what he was. I think it's trying to adapt and appreciate what he is now. I mean, it's not all about when you take as a fact, like, you're not going to be what you were. Like, you're just not. And rather than pretend like that's the option, like, he's not going to ever be the same Klay Thompson. Like, of course he's going to be different, but he's different, but he's going to get close to it, and he appreciates even being back there. Like, I remember talking to him the other day, and he goes, I like just doing laundry on my day off. Like, just having any kind of movement, any kind of ability to walk without a boot on, and to not need your mom's help or your dad's help to get up and down the stairs. And that's like an appreciation that you can't have for just the small things unless you've been through what he's been through. And I think what he's been through, that gratitude he feels now, I think it's contagious for the rest of the team. Everyone you talk to about Klay, they don't feel there's a sorrow like, oh, you lost 2 years of your prime, but there's also just a respect for him and an appreciation for what they have still. I mean, it's so rare to come back after one of those injuries, let alone both. And guess what? Who led the Warriors in minutes in the finals last year? Klay Thompson. Like, the guy got back. Maybe he wasn't the same guy. Maybe he won't be the same type of player, but he's going to be pretty darn close. And I think the ways that he changed as a person and as a player, you may not notice the slight bit of him that's not the same as a player, right? I mean, he's grown in other ways that I think will help them and be contagious around. And that's what I thought he was getting at. And it was this sort of like, why do you have to compare me to what I was before? He's 95% of what he was before. It's still pretty damn good.
Ramona Shelburne joining us here on 95.7 The Game. But before Ray wraps it up, we have to introduce and welcome everybody to their 4 o'clock hour on a Friday afternoon.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco. Always live on Twitch, YouTube, and the free Odyssey app. Damn well better be free. When does Russell Westbrook get traded to the Warriors?
To the Warriors?
I'm thinking they have as much a chance as any other team because it looks like he is now. I don't know what his market is anymore.
Oh, there's no market.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there's okay. Literally, I don't like to say things with certainty, but I will say this with certainty: there is no way Russell Westbrook would ever be traded to the Warriors right now. No.
Well, I wasn't. I was being facetious, okay. But is he going to be traded at all? Does anybody want what's left of him yet?
It's not. Those are two different questions. Could he be traded, and does anybody want him on their team? Those are two different questions, right? Because you can be traded and then not actually play for the team you're traded to. I think that is more likely. But I'm not convinced that they don't just ride this out. You know, the $47 million that comes off the books, and unless they can find a deal where they don't have to incentivize someone to take that much money by including one of their draft picks, like I don't know that they do anything. I think it's $47 million. They're set up to have about $30 million in cap space next summer. I mean, there's a sense that they can do other things around the team to improve them this year that don't involve incentivizing someone to take that money off the books. And there's unless there's somebody you really want, unless there's somebody who can return, but all the names that you hear, they have money left on their deal for next year too, and that doesn't fit with what the Lakers have set themselves up for, which is to be players in free agency next summer. So I think you write it out. Now, how much longer he is a part of the team and playing every night, I don't know. We'll see. That's how he takes this demotion to the second team is going to tell us a lot about what comes next.
We'll just wrap up with this, Ramona. Do you ever think you'd live in a world where any NBA team was worth $7 billion?
Ooh. They might be worth more than that, by the way. Like, those valuations are just valuations. But,
open market, they're getting 8. I think so, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like it's just, it's like going on Zillow. Being like, well, my house is listed at Zillow. Well, your house is what somebody will actually pay for it. It's not what Zillow says it is. And I think right now, I've heard some stuff going on with the Suns, and it's like, I don't really think the Suns are worth what they're probably going to sell for, which is north of 3. But you're worth what somebody will pay for it. Because as somebody pointed out to me once, like, there's only 30 of these. There's like 30 beachfront homes, and they don't come open for sale very often. And when they do, there's a lot of billionaires out there who want them. But I think the Warriors are self-reward in that one because they have the Chase Center, which is it's just this funny name that it's literally an ATM. It's literally an ATM. Their revenues are pretty good for a team that's worth as much. And so I think would I think I would live in an era? No, but it's probably worth even more than that. Somebody would probably pay more than that.
Ramona, thank you so much for joining us. Great to talk to you. Again, congrats on Bambino. If you can get him over to SoFi to play running back for the Rams, I think they could use a little depth. So,
I mean, it's like, well, they can use an offensive line, too. It's like between the running backs and the offensive line, like they're They're not what they used to be.
Things change fast in sports. They certainly do. Thank you so much. It was great catching up with you.
Thanks, boys.